Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Family Law Talk.
Family Law Talk.
Presented by Kirk Stange of Stange Law Firm, PC. With offices in the Midwest. Stange Law Firm is a family law firm. Now, here's your host, Kirk Stange.
Welcome to Family Law Talk. We have an interesting topic today. The topic is appropriate dress code for court. And this is based on an article that we have on familylawheadquarters.com dated May 14th, 2017. And the title of that article is How Should I Dress in Court? So definitely as a follow-up to the episode today, go on over to familylawheadquarters.com and check out this article. You'll find a hyperlink below the episode as well if you're listening to this on Blog Talk Radio. Well, welcome everybody. Again, a very interesting topic and really an important one I think to cover because a lot of parties, when they have a court date coming up, stress about a lot of things, right? There can just be stress, obviously, about the court date itself in terms of what's going to happen. For clients going through a divorce or family law matter, they might feel like their life is hanging in the balance, and that obviously can worry them a whole lot, cause angst, right? Be terribly stressful. And then parties can stress about little things, too, like, where do I park when I get there? I mean, it's a little thing, and oftentimes I think as attorneys we can forget about it, but to an average client who doesn't go to court regularly, where to park is a big, big deal. How to get there, right? As attorneys, we go to court regularly, at least a lot of attorneys do, and attorneys are used to going to particular courthouses generally, right? And they know how to get there. But for clients, they can even stress about that. They might stress about what time to leave, because when parties go to a workplace, for example, they're used to traffic in terms of how long it takes. But if they're going to someplace different, like a court date, that can cause them worry. But then another big issue that can come into play for a lot of parties is how do I dress in court? In other words, what do I wear? What's required? And for parties who go to court regularly, this might not be a big thing, right? And as attorneys, obviously, we know we've got to dress professionally in the courtroom, as an attorney should. But for a party going through a divorce or family law matter, they might not have any assumptions in terms of what to wear in the courtroom, what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate, whether or not it makes a difference, right? Will this have an impact on a case in terms of the outcome, in terms of what I'm wearing to court and what I'm not wearing to court? And so, again, an important question, and one I definitely wanted to cover because clients ask this question quite a bit. And so let's jump into it. I mean, truth be told, different judges have their own pet peeves as it relates to dress code, right? Some judges might have higher standards in mind in terms of what they expect from clients coming in their courtroom than perhaps other judges. And so it's certainly critical that a party have this discussion with their attorney in terms of this particular judge. What's this judge's standards? Is this a judge that's offended if a party isn't dressed up for the court date, or is this judge much more tolerant, right? So that's important. And so, in terms of painting a uniform rule, I'll give some suggestions in terms of what not to wear, because there's certain things that are just risky and can get parties in trouble. But in terms of, what to wear and what the standard exactly is, again, it's different for different judges. So this is definitely an appropriate conversation for an attorney and a client to have about it. But let me give you sort of the general rule, which is when in doubt, right? So if you're a client out there and you got a court date coming up, right, it's almost always better to overdress than underdress, right? So let me say that again. It's almost always better to overdress than underdress. So when in doubt, right, step up the dress code a little bit, right? Dress a little nicer than you think might be required. I can tell the listeners, I have just never seen a judge in my career hold it against a party for overdressing to court or dressing really nice to court. So dressing nice, overdressing isn't ever really going to be held against a client. On the other hand, if a client underdresses into the courtroom, then I have seen cases where the judge is seemingly put off by it, right? Maybe somewhat offended, maybe thinks that this individual isn't taking the court date seriously or that this isn't a priority in their life. Otherwise they would have dressed a lot nicer than they did, right? So again, take that rule. It's a good rule of thumb, even outside of court, just in most people's personal lives, which is better to overdress than underdress. If you overdress, right, most people aren't going to hold that against you. But if you underdress, right, that could be problematic theoretically. Some things I've seen in my career that some judges are offended by, and I would just say, again, generally no, right? Maybe some judges are tolerant of this. Maybe some judges aren't offended by this. But in a general sense, right, why take the risk? Well, why come into the courtroom wearing items that reasonably could offend a judge? So things like jeans, I'd say generally a bad idea for a court date. I certainly wouldn't advise a client to come into a family court wearing jeans. I'd say generally a bad idea. Shorts, again, generally just a bad idea in a courtroom. Generally something a party isn't going to want to wear in court, right? So generally shorts, no, very risky. Judge might not like it. T-shirts. Again, for most individuals, don't do T-shirts. T-shirts risky. Better to wear a shirt that's collared of some kind. Collared shirts generally come off much more professional, show that a party's taking the court date seriously. T-shirts generally too casual for a courtroom. Sandals or flip-flops, again, generally too casual for a courtroom, could have the potential of giving an impression that a party's not taking the court date seriously. So sandals, flip-flops, generally a bad idea. Tennis shoes, generally too casual. I tell parties, generally don't do, obviously, tennis shoes in the courtroom. Theoretically, that could be problematic. And again, it could paint a perspective to the judge that maybe the client isn't taking a court date seriously, right? So, and you could go through a list of other clothing as well that would just be of a very casual nature, that generally is risky, that could stand the chance of offending a judge, and just generally not a good idea. So, in terms of court dates, apart from that general rule that I gave individuals that overdressing generally better than underdressing, let me give you a couple of other sort of metaphors, if you will, which might be useful for you. Think of a court date like a job interview, right? If you're going into a job interview for a professional job, what would you wear to that job interview to really give the best impression, to really put your best foot forward in terms of getting that position? And if you take that mantra in mind and you wear to court what you might wear to a job interview, I think generally speaking, you're going to be in pretty good shape, right? And at a minimum, I would say, this term gets kind of thrown out there, and I guess it can mean different things to different people, but the term business casual, I'd say at a minimum, business casual, which might mean something like khaki pants or something like that. I'd say, at a minimum, that's sort of the low threshold in terms of what I would generally advise a client to wear. But it doesn't hurt at all, again, to treat it like a formal event. We're not talking black tie, right, where you're coming in a tuxedo, but you're coming in wearing clothing which is in line with like a suit and a tie. Certainly nice if you're male, female, it's hard for me to give advice to females in terms of what to wear, but if you were going on a dinner date with an individual wearing a suit, what would you typically wear to that type of event? I would say that's probably the standard you want to be at in terms of court dates, in terms of making the best possible impression. A lot of parties might come back and say, well, I don't have clothing like this, right? I don't have clothing like this, and now I'm going to have to go out and spend significant sums of money to buy clothing for court. And for some parties, they might think that is prohibitive. And what I would say in the response to that is parties don't have to spend a lot of money to really paint, right, a picture of respect, right? So there's certainly secondhand clothing stores parties can go to and get clothing at minimal cost, right? A secondhand, used type clothing store. So if your budget is limited, I mean, go to a place like that, or think about going to a place like that. You know, online individuals can buy used clothing of some kind at a minimal price. You know, and order that online. I mean, sites like eBay, let's say, you could buy clothing sometimes at a fraction of the cost of what it would be new. And obviously, there's certain stores out there, and you all know the names of these stores where you can buy clothing at a lot lower price than some certain stores. And again, it's going to paint a picture of respect to the court, that you take the court date serious, and that certainly you respect the judge, and certainly the outcome is important enough to you that you're going to show deference and respect to the court. So again, generally better to overdress and underdress, and at the same time, watch certain clothing that's so casual in nature that it could paint a picture to a judge that you're not really taking court or the court date seriously enough. And then, you know, as a final note, again, have this discussion with your attorney if you have any questions. If you have any questions about what's appropriate, what isn't appropriate, certainly talk to your attorney, and your attorney can give you guidance in terms of, you know, what might be appropriate and what might be taboo with a particular judge in which you might be appearing before. So, again, that's the topic today. As a follow-up to the episode, go on over to FamilyLawHeadquarters.com. Check out the article titled, How Should I Dress in Court, dated May 14, 2017. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Stay tuned to our next episode coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Family Law Talk with Kirk Stange. Visit StangeLawFirm.com for more about today's topic, or to put Stange Law Firm to work for your family today. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision that should not be based solely upon advertisements. Neither the Supreme Court of Missouri or Illinois reviews or approves certifying organizations or specialist designations. The information you obtain on this podcast is not, nor is it intended to be legal advice. You should contact an attorney for advice regarding your individual situation. We invite you to contact us and welcome your calls, letters, and electronic mail. Contacting us does not create an attorney-client relationship. Please do not send any confidential information to us until such time as an attorney-client relationship has been established. And finally, past results afford no guarantee of future results, and every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
Kirk Stange is responsible for the content. Principal place of business, 120 South Central Avenue, Suite 450, Clayton, Missouri, 63105.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.